Welcome to Small Business, Big Network, the podcast for small business owners who want big results from their networking. I'm Liz Drury, a freelance voiceover artist who knows that if you're not working, then networking could help. Jon Lindsey is the owner of Lindsey Lettings, a letting agency with a difference based in Leicestershire. Jon is a keen networker and actually met his business partner through networking, as he explains in this interview. Welcome to the podcast, Jon. It's great to have you here.
Thank you very much. Good to be here.
So, Jon, first of all, just tell me a bit about your business, what it is you do and who it is you help.
Okay, well, I run a lettings business called Lindsey Lettings, my name being Jon Lindsey, obviously, and we help tenants as well as landlords to kind of make the right arrangement between the two and make sure that the people that live in the house have the right quality of life, not just a letting agent just to bring the money in. That overall help you'd want as a person living in a house that may not be comfortable kind of dealing with the landlord kind of directly. Mm-hmm. So that's the kind of service we provide. Yeah.
And how did it all start?
Well, my wife and I, in 2014, I believe, we made the choice that we were going to be landlords, that we were going to buy a house and we were going to let it out. And with we, I mean me. It was me left with most of the things to do, but that's the way it goes. And then realised that what we were providing was actually was a bit different than what everybody else was providing, because we owned the houses first of all, and then we built up our portfolio between 2014 and last year up to 6 houses, and that was going well. And what we realised was that when we had our eldest, when he came along, I needed to hand off a couple of the houses that were the most work to a letting agent whilst I helped my wife with the new baby, and we've had another one since. And I realised that what this letting agent was providing was really nowhere near what we were and what we expected from a letting agent. Houses weren't being checked regularly. Interaction with the tenants seemed to be quite business-like. And at the end of 2019, my wife and I had another chat like we did years ago when we started. And we thought, well, we know how to do this. Why don't we offer up our services to the wider market, like landlords that need letting agents? And that's how it started, really, just an idea. And then I began looking into everything I needed to do to get that up and running as a limited company. And then just kind of grew out of realising how much letting agents were earning whilst providing, just pretty much what you'd expect as a minimum. Mm-hmm. And we thought we could do better, and that's why we started Lindsey Lettings. Yeah.
And how has networking brought you to where you are and helped your business develop?
Right, yes. Well, this is a big one because early on within the business, I was quite active on LinkedIn and on Instagram to try and promote the business. I've always been I had one hand in that, as it were. Mm-hmm. Someone asked me if I wanted to come along to a BNI meeting, which ironically is where we met as well.
Yes.
Always open to these kind of experiences. I went along to a BNI meeting in Leicester, although it was at home because it was during lockdown. It was a Leicester chapter of the BNI, and realised that there were a lot of other people out there just like me with small to medium businesses that would really work well with others if we kind of moved the business around that small chapter rather than randomly trying to get people to do that work as and when it came up. Mm-hmm. And that's what I've been doing, and within a couple of months of being in that chapter, I had already covered the money that I spent, to be in the chapter, because BNI is a paid service.
Yes.
But most of all, over and above the business that I got in, the people I put around me, that I now have a HR expert, I have an estate agent expert, I have a mortgage expert, insurance expert, etc., that now I just know immediately where to go when I have a problem, and that is invaluable to me because being a letting agent is quite a busy job. So the most valuable part of networking that I've realised has been having a wider power team that you didn't previously have. Everyone looks at networking like, oh, get more business in. But the way that it really works well is if you're able to hand your business that you have over to people that you really trust, then that business will work its way back to you in the long run. I think that's the big lesson, and that's what BNI is as well. BNI is all about trying to provide other people with more business rather than, oh, well, where's my business coming in? Because once you do that, it will reciprocate, and that's the key to networking, I believe, is to giving. Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like you've built up a great team there who are selling your business for you now.
Yes, that's right. I mean, one link I had from one of the members within my group was within an estate agent that doesn't do lettings, which means whenever they get anyone on the books who is wondering what to do with their house, whether they're going to get rid of it or when they buy one, whether they want to rent it out or whether they want to do it up and then get rid of it, it kind of gives this estate agent that's not dealing with lettings a way of, making a bit of money off that, because obviously if they give me business, then, they will get compensated for that business. That's generally how it works. And then everybody wins that's involved in that transaction. And that's the beauty of it, that you can keep that train going within your group, if you see what I mean, because more business just brings more business, and that's it. And a lot of people will look at it like, oh, this is just like a business club where you all hang out and you get business, and what about the other people that aren't in that group getting business? But when you think about it, if you have an uncle who is a heating engineer and one of your mates is like, I need a heating engineer, then you will try to get your uncle in there to do the job. And that's the whole point of this kind of, this BNI group, or whether it's any other networking group, is that you've got each other's backs, and that's no different than real life. And, I think that's the misconception with networking, really, is that it's kind of a club. It's not. It's real life. Just kind of ramped up to the next level, I think.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Now, I believe that you also met your business partner through networking. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, that's a very interesting story. And it kind of dates back to when the first baby came along that I mentioned earlier on, where we handed a few houses over, and that's how we kind of learnt that lettings was a business that we could get involved in profitably. It was around that time as well where I actually began visiting property networking meetings, which was with Progressive Property. Other ones are available, but that's one within the area, Progressive Property meetings. And I went along to a couple over in Derby just to kind of have a look what it was like. And I knew that it was just going to be me having a look, and then probably having kind of a few months where I wasn't able to go because of the baby and stuff. I thought, just go and have a look while he's really young, while he's easy to manage, and then we'll have a look where that goes. And it was in this one meeting where it was all going along, pretty much what you expected. And then there was a speaker. His name is Chris Henry, and he was having a word with the people at the property meeting about using pension money to do developments and kind of getting a return off that. And I remember being really struck why he was doing it, and that's because he wanted to kind of provide money in the future for one of his children who had an illness, and this would help them into the future, kind of thing, with providing them with an income and probably letting them live life a bit more rather than worrying about the normal things in life. And that really struck me. I never spoke with him that evening, to be honest. I just left it where it was, and just went home. And that was pretty much the end of my networking career, kind of back then. And then when my lad was a bit older, so that would have been around the end of the year in 2017. So in the beginning of 2019, I picked it up again and began going to networking meetings again. And because we'd moved house, these ones I started to go to were in Leicester. And just worth bearing in mind that this man that came to have a chat with us years ago about these pensions was from up north, from Yorkshire, quite a way away. He wasn't down here every day. This was a rare kind of trip for him to come and talk to people. And then when I went along to a property meeting in Leicester, I was advised of another property meeting that was happening in Nottingham a couple of weeks later. And I thought, just go with it and have a look where that goes. And anyway, went to Nottingham, and lo and behold, Chris was there again, speaking on one of his rare visits to the Midlands, talking about pretty much what he talked about before, although he was now looking for partners. He was looking to kind of done what he'd done up north and bringing it to the whole of the UK, basically. And he needed regional partners. And he had a long list of criteria that he had up there, up on his PowerPoint. And I pretty much met all of them. And, that kind of overwhelmingly just made me want, to go and have a chat with him. And I led with that. I watched him speak a few years ago, and that it was really powerful because of how he talked about his daughter, and he talked about his why he was doing it. And I really had no choice. I had to go up and talk with him because it just kind of all lined up in that weird way that it does with networking now and again. Call it the power of attraction, or call it the karma, or whatever you want to call it. This really did work that way this time. And then then a month later we were in lockdown, but we started doing these every other week, doing Zoom meetings, where we talked with his partner up there as well, who is the expert in construction, and him, and then me, and then my wife. We did these Zoom meetings every 2 weeks, and that kind of just started building and building and building. And then we opened a company, and then we started looking for houses, and now we're doing HMO redevelopments around the Midlands all together. They do it from a distance, and we're kind of the feet on the ground here, which means as well as doing the lettings business, we have a property redevelopment company with these guys up north. And that all came out of years and years ago, me going and just going to have a look what this property meeting was all about. And it's those kind of networking meetings where you never know what's going to happen, but you just have to go with it, because the most unlikely link can lead to you basically having this company with these other guys that you'd never previously met, and who live hundreds of miles away. And that was my interesting story. Well, at least interesting to me, And,
I think that's an amazing story, and it just shows that you really never know what's going to come out of a networking meeting. And sometimes it can take, as in this case, it can be a few years before something comes to fruition, but then suddenly things line up, like you say, and business is done. But you've got to keep putting yourself out there so that you are in the right place at the right time, haven't you?
Yes, that's right. And with with BNI, while we've been in lockdown, I mean, it's been a bit odd, because we're in this group with, I think it's 35 other people now. And apart from one evening in the middle where half a dozen of us came together to do like a Christmas lunch or something, I've never met any of these people. And then a couple of weeks ago, I went and I met with one of them on a business to do business with them within the lockdown rules kind of thing. And we realised that it was only when I was in the building, when I was in the room, and we were actually talking to each other. Both of us kind of mentioned at the same time, we've never met each other. Because of all these weekly BNI meetings that we've had. It's like you know them, and that's what networking is as well. It's easy to get cynical about networking. It's a little bit harder to be open and just give it a try and kind of you've got to invest in it. And when you do that, it happens and it's amazing. And we can't wait until we're all in the room again. Because normally every week we're in the room together. And we each kind of do our bits there, which is obviously the classical way of doing it, but this is, the lockdown has put everybody online, and it's been a very interesting experience for me. I've
had similar experiences where I feel like I've got to know people really well who I've never actually met in real life. It's been a really strange year, but good in some ways, because I've met people like yourself, that I would never normally have come across because we don't live anywhere near each other. But the power of networking via Zoom brings people together, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, with my property development business partners, one of who lives in Newcastle and one of who lives in Yorkshire, and I mean, yes, we met in real life for the first time. But all of our business kind of, the building of it, the being comfortable with each other to the point where you're happy starting a business, you're happy putting loans against that business, you're happy securing a house against that business, and then begin kind of, work on that house, when really we've only met in real life a couple of times. Once when we viewed the house, and once when we did the survey on the house, and that's all down to networking. There's no doubt about it, because that's where it began. And then with those every other weekly Zoom calls, that's where it grew. And I put that all down to networking. And because as well, my two business partners, they've worked with each other for about half a dozen years now, I think, up north. It's worth remembering that that's how they met, through networking. And then when you start putting all these puzzle pieces together, you begin realising that lots and lots of these business ventures, that's how they started. Like-minded people who were open-minded, who were open to a little bit of well, you never know what happens when you go to this meeting kind of attitude, rather than, right, I'm going to go to this meeting and I'm going to try and get business from it. That just won't work.
No.
And we aligned with values, and we aligned that we care a lot about the families, and once we knew that, it was easy from there, really, because we trusted each other, and that all happened, again through networking. It's an amazing thing.
Yeah,
it really is.
I think your story just shows just how powerful networking is. So just finally then, what advice would you give anyone who is feeling cynical about business networking?
I'd look up your local BNI chapter, and I would go. Don't read up loads and loads about it. Don't ask loads of other people about it. Look it up and then just go. There's a couple of weeks where you can go for free, and you can just work out what it's like in your own time and make your own mind up. Because once you're in these meetings, you realise that people are there because they want to help other people. Now, yes, obviously, at the end of the day, people are in networking meetings because they want to grow their business. However, the people who do the best are always the people who help the most.
Yeah.
That's the most important lesson that you'll learn. And if you're the kind of person who is happy with having that balance of wanting to get business out of it, but you're the kind of person that loves helping other people, networking will turbocharge your business, like, easily. And that's why you have to try and get involved. It's, looking online, there are networking meetings everywhere, especially right now, where they are online. But, within a couple of months now, we'll be coming out of lockdown, and those networking meetings will be started up with a vengeance again, because everybody wants to get back into the swing of business. And we're just advised to kind of give it a go. You just got to get out there and do it, and you won't regret it, because one way or another you'll get these hints along the way that you're on the right track. That's kind of the only way that I can put it. These hints, like when I met my partner years ago. When I watched my partner speak years ago, and then when he was there again, completely unexpected. That's one hint. And then with all the things he was looking at to get from a business partner, that was another hint. If you let that lead you, because normally you can trust your instincts, then networking can do amazing things. And you just have to get out there and try it. That's all I can say.
That's brilliant. Well, thank you very much for sharing your story. I'm sure that's going to be inspirational for a lot of people, Jon.
I hope so, yeah, I hope so. And what I wish is that I had heard this earlier when I was in my 20s, because I only started networking when I was 35. And if I'd have started, in my early 20s, well, who knows where I could have been by now, but I don't dwell on the past. I'm just happy that I've got all of these years ahead of me to network, and I'm going to make the most of it.
Brilliant. Well, good luck with it all, Jon.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Small Business, Big Network. If you found this podcast useful, please do rate, review and subscribe. And don't forget to share it with the rest of your network too.